Welcome to Boston Sports Nuts. I'm your host for this one, Jim Russo, along with my good friends Paul Izzo and Ken Berman. Obviously, we're going to talk. Lead topic today is going to be the Super Bowl, and I think it's only right that we go to Paul first, a 30-year season ticket holder who 40-year season ticket holder, who went to the game with his son, Sam, another knowledgeable sports fan. So, Paul, take it away.
I think there's a couple of big picture takeaways from the Super Bowl. One is it's really hard to sugarcoat the performance. It was an almost embarrassing loss for the Patriots, given how far they had come, given the expectations that they would at least make it close. They really were not competitive in the game. Was it the fault of the scheme? Were they overmatched? Were they finally exposed? All those explanations, I think, will come into view better in time. You know, if they bounce back next year and are very competitive, that may suggest that it was just a one-off. If they struggle next year, that may suggest that this was, a case of a team being exposed. But no matter how you look at it, there really wasn't any point in the game where you thought they had a chance to win. And I think as a fan, as someone that, had very high expectations, that was my general reaction to it all. The offense was pathetic. The defense was very competitive, kept them in the game to some degree. Although when it was 9-0, it felt like it was over. So, all in all, a disappointing performance. Big picture, it was a great year. A lot of great wins, a lot of great contributions from young players that suggest that the future is bright. But I just can't sugarcoat that Super Bowl. That was a really disappointing performance by the Patriots.
Ken?
Yeah, well, sitting at home and watching it with Peggy Sports Nuts Cooper, it was what was really hard to take was had nothing to cheer about. I never really got to cheer for my team. There was, except for Gonzalez tipping a couple of balls away, and the defense obviously bend but didn't break because they did give up 5 field goals, by the way. So the defense was really good, but they did give up 5 field goals, and they let Walker run over them a lot. I never got there was one little tiny part of the game where they had scored the touchdown, they got the ball back, it looked like they were driving. There was time if they had scored that we could have had maybe a fun ending, and then came the interception, and that was it. So there was, I guess, a few minutes where I felt like I needed to sit at the edge of my couch and get excited and rah for my team. But like Paul said, it was just so disappointing that lacks so much excitement to me. And I think we all agree it was a great year. They overachieved. I thought 7 wins and above, I would be happy. So I can't be unhappy with 17 wins and a Super Bowl appearance. It was just a disappointing end. I think, Paul, we were talking, I said it's like the end of a MASH or Seinfeld, where it was like one of these great series, and the last episode you just went, oh, really? So.
Well, first of all, I want to give credit to Seattle, outstanding team who played an outstanding game. But I think a couple of things that, like Paul said, I guess in time, but right now, first of all, 2 best teams were Seattle and the Rams, and Mad Dog Russo was right. That was the de facto. Those teams played 3 times, played 3 great games.
Yeah.
The NFC was the class of the league this year. The AFC was noticeably weaker. So that's number 1. Number 2, national media was right. That wasn't a game. That was an awful game. The Patriots were not competitive. They correctly predicted the game. And they didn't, as Paul said, there was no point in the game where you thought they had a chance to win, in my opinion. Second of all, as Tom Curran said, the Patriots played young. The young players did not come through. The two offensive linemen did not come through. Drake May did not come through in the biggest game of all. He speculated that maybe McDaniel's not mixing it up a little bit more is because they thought the biggest problem was nerves, him and Vrabel with the team. Now, I'm not sure of that. We'll never know that because I don't think they'll ever tell us that. But the fact of the matter is the Patriots offense was poor in the postseason. Yes, weather had something to do with it, but now in a perfect weather game, they arguably played their worst game. Their worst game.
He was obviously hurt. He was obviously hurt.
Oh,
Drake May.
yeah, so was Campbell. But you know what? We've been living off that all season.
No,
all
I
season.
mean,
we've been fighting that accusation off. So they go into the Super Bowl. If they're hurt, they're hurt. We'll see. So we can't use that when we're probably there because of that.
Well, I'm just
Having
saying
said that,
Jim,
I agree with Ken when he said 7 and 9 or whatever would have been great. The season was great, and this loss won't take away from it. My own take for the future is be careful. You know, it was an easy schedule, and they need to get better. But I don't think it has to happen in 1 year. I think they'll be back there, but not next year, because that's the way it goes in the NFL. They're not going to get every break in the world like they did this. Even in that game, by the way, Seattle's best running back did not play. Now, that might have helped them in the end. And their best wide receiver, the offensive player of the year in the NFL, got hurt and missed half the game. This thing with the Patriots just kept going and going. Or I should say, kept giving and giving. But you know what? That's sports. So I don't use it as taken away
well,
from
I'm just saying it's no
anything the
coincidence.
Pats did.
There's no coincidence to me that their offense struggled in the postseason and not thinking that his shoulder was hurt during that time.
Well, you know what, Ken? I'm sorry. At some point, you got to tip your hat to the other teams.
Oh, no, Seattle was the better team, Jim. I'm not arguing that. I'm just
like I would hope that people tipped their hat to the Patriots defense, which did not get enough credit right up to the Super Bowl. You know, are we going to say the Patriots defense was no good because, Collins didn't play and, Herbert played with a broken hand? I'm not saying that. I think they proved it. They were really good.
Mm-hmm.
But our offense was really bad the whole postseason. Mm-hmm. I mean, the 21 sacks. Drake May, the fumbles. Incredible. It's just, but do I think that's going to define their career? No. I think they're coming back. I do.
Well, I think let me just inject here. First of all, on Drake May's shoulder, my understanding is that happened, the real injury, if you want to call it, happened in the Denver game.
Correct.
So it wouldn't explain the Houston although against Houston, they did score 3 offensive touchdowns. So, that's maybe suggests that it was the Denver injury. But big picture wise, absolutely had a great year. A lot of fun games to watch.
Absolutely.
We enjoyed some of them together. Certainly as a season ticket holder, there were some great games, great wins. Yeah. Even some of the losses, the Buffalo game, very entertaining. And there's more than enough there to build on. Some of the obvious weaknesses, they need to look at the offensive line. They need to look at edge rushing. They have some big decisions to make. Christian Gonzalez maybe was quite possibly the best player on the field in the Super Bowl, even though he didn't win. Mm-hmm. He was just a superstar running all over the place. Mm-hmm. So, they have some players, and obviously Drake May showed more than enough for us to be optimistic. I do want to quote my son who said, on the way out of the stadium, by the way, this particular Super Bowl of all the ones I've attended was by far the most difficult to navigate logistically. You had to park miles from the stadium or you had to pay $400. I was not going to pay $400. So I walked about 3 miles to the stadium. You had to go through multiple levels of security and pat downs and guards and swiping. And once you got in there, it was pure chaos. But leaving that aside, I think that the one thing that Sam said that I thought was funny is, where does this fit on the pain meter? With 10 being excruciating angst, and one being, okay, we lost, but we're okay. We had a great year. If you think about the 7-game loss to the Lakers, that's a 10 on the pain meter. If you
Right.
think about losing the 2007 Super Bowl, that's a 10 on the
Mhm.
pain meter, losing the undefeated season.
Right.
This is a 5. It
I was
hurts.
over it when it was 9-0.
It hurts, but and it does raise some questions about what do they do going forward, but fewer questions than we had at the beginning of this year.
Sure. I put it even less for me, pain meter, in that the season was such a surprise. And as Ken said, it was pretty apparent from the beginning that, the Pats would, to me, they were overpowered. All this stuff about scheme and this and that, they were overpowered. They were just,
Yeah.
they just,
Excuse me.
when two teams are playing and they both have intangibles and they both have all the variables that a winning team has, and you got a team like Seattle on defense, not on offense, but on defense, that team's probably going to win. And that's what happened. The Pats had everything going for them, but so did Seattle. They won one less game, and the only reason they won as many games. The only reason, they got a bye. Give them a win for the bye. So they won one more game if you count that. So I put the pain meter as pretty low. I think it's a good question, but for me, it's pretty low. It's low. Where that, if you just want to stay with football, the Giants loss in the undefeated season,
That's the
I
worst.
still maintain is the biggest loss in the history of Boston sports. But
Yeah.
that's
I
a
agree
topic
with
for
that.
another day.
Mhm.
I was pretty much disappointed, but not having a lot of pain for most of that game. By the time it was over, I was like, oh, it wasn't killing me like you said, Paul. Celtics losing game 7 to the Lakers when obviously the referees fixed it. We all know that. So, and the NBA stepped in and said, make sure the Lakers win. That was, but game 7 against the Lakers losing was tough. And the Giants loss was the chance to go 19-0 and have the greatest season ever and then shut up the Miami Dolphins. Oof, that had a lot of pain. So this one didn't have that pain to me. It was just
No, I agree.
disappointing.
Great question, and I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. People talk about where the Patriots, draft an offensive lineman. Just one consequence of this season: Patriots picking 31st.
I know.
They
Although
may
they got
not like
11
an
picks in the
offensive
draft.
lineman at 31. So, yeah, maybe that's the biggest need. I don't know, but it's not going to be the last 2 years in the draft, picking 3 and 4 and getting really excited about who they could take. It's going to be, so Paul, when you do the draft projection, God bless you, because you're going to have to come to 31 on that one. And also, as Bill Belichick once said, he won the Super Bowl one year, and I think it was his next day press conference. Making the Super Bowl, we had less time to prepare for the draft, so we're behind.
By the way, they have
Obviously,
11 picks coming up in this draft.
I'm kidding about that one, but picking 31st is a lot different. So.
But
Anything else on the Super Bowl you guys got?
Well, I just wanted to point out a couple of very nitpicky things.
Yeah,
The Seattle punter was just outstanding. I mean,
fantastic.
I thought, boy, could he be the MVP of this game? Because until the sort of meaningless points at the end, that was a difference maker.
Yeah.
Not only was the Patriots offense anemic, but they were in situations that make even the best offense anemic. I think they started 3 drives from inside the 15-yard line.
Yeah.
It was just, Patriots felt like they had a mountain to climb all day. I don't think they crossed midfield in the first half. It was just really, really difficult. Another thing that was interesting about the game was I didn't think it was funny. I'm always reluctant to criticize Josh McDaniels for the reason that I don't know all the thinking that goes into why you do what you do during a football game. They've thought about it. They've researched it. They have video. They have scouts. But I do think the offense was too conservative.
Yeah.
I think they should have realized when it was 6-0 that they were going to struggle to get the ball downfield. And instead of worrying so much about turning the ball over, maybe they should have just opened it up a little. It's very cliche to say, why didn't they try a trick play? But they didn't. It's very cliche to say, why didn't they just chuck it downfield? But I, I would have liked to have seen a little more of that. And when they did do it, sort of toward the end, you saw what happened. They got 2 touchdowns. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons they didn't chuck it downfield is it takes longer to run those routes. But
yeah, I agree.
with
Yeah.
May getting clobbered. But yeah, I mean, I just, I don't
and
know
so
if Curran's right or who's right as to why they weren't a little bit more like that. But
yeah, one of the Boston people brought up, Paul, like, try anything in a Super Bowl. Like, they didn't have any hurry up offense. They didn't go to a no huddle. They didn't try using Hunter Henry more on quick, get the ball instead of a big drop by May, a short drop. I don't know. These are all things we could all cliche question and all that. But I think you're right. They just they didn't have any, well, they never had any momentum either. But I think it's Josh McDaniel's job to try to think of something different.
Well,
Well,
they
I
tried
think the
Hunter
one
in
thing we
May.
can all agree on. I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
No, they tried Hunter Henry over the middle. May threw it behind him. They tried May rolling out. He lost yardage. To me, that can all be speculation, but
Yeah.
I just my own opinion watching the game. This was not a strategy game. This was one team just overpowering another team on that side of the ball. And I think one of the biggest differences in the game was Sam Darnold, in that Collinsworth, Paul, you didn't see the telecast unless you've watched it, but he was right on in that Sam Darnold was pressured a lot too, but he made enough plays.
And
He didn't play a
get
great
tackled.
game. He wasn't like, he didn't even win the MVP, which most quarterbacks, and he didn't deserve it. But he made enough plays to get them in scoring position. And in this type of game, that was enough. That was enough. And Drake May, unfortunately, and I think he's going to have his day. I really do. Next 5 years, probably, he'll have his day. But on this day, he couldn't make the plays under that kind of pressure. And I think really I just don't know if it's a strategy game when one team overpowers another team like that.
I think one thing that a lot of people I noticed in the playoffs, I guess more than the regular season, I guess I didn't look close enough, is one thing that can help May out a lot, which I hope he has in him, is that pocket feel. He just doesn't, like, everybody knows Brady couldn't run, but he knew exactly where to step, either left, right, up, back, because he just always had that. Those quarterbacks have that feel for the pocket, and that would be May's next step to me to get even better, to a better pocket sense. It seems.
Well,
to
I
be
thought he showed improvement in that area this year. I remember Chris Collinsworth talking about keeping his eyes down, and then later in the year he kept his eyes up.
Yeah,
I think we saw some improvement, but I think Vrabel hit it on the head on Tuesday. He said it was a system-wide failure.
yeah,
It wasn't May, it wasn't Campbell, it wasn't Wilson, it wasn't, Moses on the right side. It was just a complete bleep show.
yeah.
So,
top
it
to
was a
bottom,
great year, and I made my peace with it. I got home safe and sound.
that's all that
Uh,
matters.
Couple of things about the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
It was a
we'll see.
much more welcoming, generous experience in the past. They gave you a cushion, they gave you a doll, they gave you a swag bag. This was just going to a really hot, sunny game on a Sunday afternoon. It didn't feel like a Super Bowl to me.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to comment on Bad Bunny from a political perspective or anything like that, but the crowd was not into it. This media hype that the crowd was dancing to Bad Bunny, that's just not true.
Where has that media hype been, by the way? I haven't read one thing about that.
Oh, there was a whole review in either the New York Times or one of them about how, the crowd was on their feet to Bad Bunny. I don't remember which one I read, but I can just tell you that the only halftime show that I have ever seen that had the audience spellbound was U2. Nobody left their seat. People were literally saying that was better than the game. I mean, Bad Bunny did his thing and it was fine.
It was a
But
great
most of us
TV
were like in
spectacle.
line getting a Gatorade.
Bad
Yeah.
Bunny was a great TV spectacle, Paul. It was made for TV.
Definitely. Wasn't for that audience.
Yeah,
It was
It was
for the
made for
300 million that follow him, or,
or a billion
But-
probably.
Yeah.
Anyway.
One other thing, I would say is the NFL probably breathed a sigh of relief after that game that Matthew Stafford won the MVP. Again, I think Drake May is going to have his day, and I look forward to watching it because I think it'll be one of those redemption sports moments, and I think he's going to have it. I really do.
He's
Really
good.
do.
We're lucky.
I do.
We're lucky.
Like I said, I don't think it's next year because it's just that's not the way things work in the NFL. But I think it's coming. I think he's good and he's really good. And I think with Vrabel, Paul, you made a great point. We're in such a better place than we were going into this season. That's for sure. Especially after the first 3 weeks, by the way. I was talking to a friend of mine Tuesday, and he was at the Miami game, and he refreshed my memory that if a guy doesn't step out of bounds, they could have easily been 0-3 in that Miami game on that play where the Dolphin guy stepped out before he scored. So after that, what did we expect? And to get this, congrats to the Pats and all of them, frankly.
Even Vrabel said, we just began this process.
Yeah.
We just started the whole process.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun next year. And the tougher games will be fun too. We'll be playing, Jim, get a rematch in Seattle. That might not be fun, but
Jim, we probably get a week off from the next NFL thing. Like a combine must be in a week. We can, that can be the topic. Come on, Jim. We don't, football isn't done. They create all sorts. Come on.
Well, we got a couple other topics today. So let me go to one of them. And I want to pose this question to the esteemed panel.
Where are they?
Who walked in?
Come on. About, I don't know what year it was, maybe 2011. Ray Allen was still on the Celtics, and Danny Ainge felt that the Celtics needed more scoring. He was still the president of basketball operations, and he made a controversial trade. He broke up a starting lineup that, as Doc Rivers said, never lost a playoff series when they were all healthy.
Which is
and
true.
And the Lakers could say that too, to be fair, of that era. So he traded Kendrick Perkins for Jeff Green, who the Celtics ironically had drafted and traded for Ray Allen.
Correct.
I think by all accounts, and possibly even Danny at this point, that trade set that team back. He was hoping Shaq would come back. He didn't. And that trade sent that team back. Now, let's fast forward to the Celtics of today. And right after we left the last program, Brad Stevens traded essentially Anthony Simons for Nikola Vucevic. Now, let me just say, Vucevic is a very good player. And no matter how much I like Keita and Gaza, what they've done this year, Vucevic is a better center. But I personally think this trade is that trade in reverse, given the fact that Brad Stevens had other motives, which is to get under not just the first apron, but the luxury tax, and he did it. Taking that aside for this discussion, I personally think the Celtics are weaker because it's disrupted the whole rotation, and I think Simons coming off the bench was more important than the upgrade they're eventually going to get when Vooch works into the system of Vucevic at center. And I'm curious what you guys think. Ken, want to lead that off?
Okay, I'll go, Jim. I'll go because I have an opinion about the Celtics usually. I've sort of been following them since, I was in diapers. So
season ticket holder
season ticket holder many years. First of all, I didn't like the trade when it happened. They won a couple of games, but didn't look really well. They looked good one game doing it, not good the other game. See, here's was my problem with it. First of all, I think the combination of Keita and Gaza was giving them incredible, consistent production from the center position. Okay, I thought that combination was working well. They were averaging about 20 something a game and 15 rebounds, and Cater was good on D, and Gaza was good mopping up the offensive boards and getting extra possessions. And then you had Simons coming in on many nights where they would be struggling to score, and he was the exact guy they needed to come in and score, and he did that. So their rotation of bringing Simons and Gaza in off the bench, now they don't have that because they trade Simons, they put Pritchard on the bench, so the starting rotation is much different. And like you said, I think it's maybe they'll get it together. And by the way, Vucevic is a good player. I get it, but he's 35 years old, and he's not going to be on this team next year. I don't think.
Well,
I don't see them.
Simons probably wasn't either, Ken. So
no, but Simons. But if they had decided to keep Simons, that would have been a good choice to me. I don't see the choice in signing a 35-year-old guy. So getting Simons on a contract, which might have cost you a little bit more money, I'd be okay with. He was perfect coming off the bench for them. So I just think now this might all work out because Joe Mazzulla, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, is coach of the year. He beat Houston with nobody, so he's coach of the year. And so maybe he'll figure this out and the Vucevic thing will work out great. I don't know, but that was my opinion. I thought they were getting good production from the center position on a night in and night out basis, and they had a good rotation coming off the bench. So that's what I thought.
Well,
you cannot talk about the acquisition. You cannot talk about Anthony Simons without talking about why they acquired him. They acquired him precisely so they could trade him last week.
Yeah.
He had a tradable contract. He would put them under the salary cap. And it ended up being a sort of a mixed blessing how he played. It was a blessing because he probably won them some games they otherwise would not have won.
Yep.
He turned out to be a better all-around player than I think the Celtics imagined. The downside is it looked like to the fans and to us and other people that they were jettisoning a valuable piece to their puzzle just to save money. And that's never a good feeling if you're a fan or someone that cares about how the team does. You can't look at this trade, in my opinion, as a trade that made the team better. They can spin it, and Brad will spin it, and Joe will spin it, and Celtics apologists will spin it. Anthony Simons was one of their best players. Vucevic is a good guy to have on the team, but he's not a long-term solution to a problem. He doesn't make them considerably better, as Ken said, at the center position. So to me, it's 100% money issue, luxury tax issue, apron issue. And, I'm happy to talk about it more, but there's really not much more to say about it. I mean, that's what it's about. And
I agree because, I started off talking about the basketball sense. Now we get to the financial sense of it. Ken, it doesn't bother me that he's 35 because he's not coming back, and neither was Simons. We got to be realistic about that, in my opinion. And
Jim, they have the choice to bring Simons back and sign him to a longer deal that they could maybe make a little.
But we got to be realistic. They're not going to pay someone $35 to $40 million while they have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They would have done that for KP or Holiday if they were going to do that. They wouldn't have traded Holiday. I mean, it's just not going to happen until they get under the luxury tax. I mean, Paul's right. To me, it's just about, I thought it was get under the first apron, and then they were able to trade 3 more players and get under the luxury tax. Yeah. So Brad Stevens clearly wanted to get under the luxury tax. I think he looked at this season and said, we're really good. We're probably not going to win it. So I'm not going to deviate from what the plan was in the beginning. And, I think If there's a player out there this offseason that they think could put them over the top, they'll do it. They'll pay the money. But if not, this is about 2028. This is about 27, 28. 2 years under the luxury tax, no more repeater tax penalties. And I think they will spend still in the prime of Brown and Tatum's career. And the last thing I'll say about it is, we had a long discussion about this. To me, this is what the NBA is about. Come on. Come on. I mean, we got to break up. And now, we're a year or two away from breaking up OKC. Oh, they're too good. They're just too good. They might win 2 in a row. No, they can't win 2 in a row. No. So, don't get attached to a team because it ain't going to stay.
But well, one thing this might mean, and let's go into the pure realm of pure speculation. It could mean they think Tatum's coming back, and they might be thinking our plan worked. We brought in a Simons, got us a lot of points off the bench. We won over 60% of our games without our best player, arguably, and now Tatum's going to come back in March. There we go.
Yep, it could be.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, he practiced with Maine yesterday.
But he also said, I'm not sure still.
That's right. Well,
they're going to say that until the day he takes the court.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's right. And we'll just have to wait and see. Speaking of the NBA, my namesake, last name anyway, Christopher Mad Dog Russo, we all listen to his show at various times. I thought and you guys know, I'm a big NBA fan. I like it better than the NFL. Nothing against the NFL, but love this season, certainly. But this is a huge problem. And I just wanted to, if you guys got a take on it. The last few days have just seen an incredible, I don't know what the word is, but just incredible happenings in the NBA for the bad. This load management thing combined with the lottery system, in my opinion, and he screamed and gave one of his great rants, is just a joke. It's a joke. Look at what's happened. Utah, they have a pick that's top 8 protected, okay? They made a trade. Danny gave up 3 first-round picks for a very good player who the Celtics would love to have. Can't afford him. Jaren Jackson Jr. Shot blocker, the whole deal. Great player. Okay? They combine him with Lauri Markkanen. They're on their way back, but they don't want to lose their draft pick. So what are they? And by the way, guess who gets the draft pick? It's top 8. OKC. So what do? Jackson comes in. They don't play him in the fourth quarter of a game. They lose. The next game, they're playing Heat culture. They are about 17 points ahead, okay? What do? They don't play him or Markkanen in the fourth quarter. And guess what? It backfires. They win. They beat Heat culture. They didn't want to win. They were trying to lose. Washington Wizards.
By the way, that should be illegal in the NBA. Then.
Yeah, let me just finish and then we can talk about it. Washington Wizards, top 8 protected pick. It goes to the Nets. They're clearly trying to tank. Clearly, their games. One of our former interns covers that team now, and I saw a post he made, which I can't wait to not root for basketball this way anymore, which is true. And how about the Indiana Pacers, by the way? Ken, before we came on, you said they did the Celtics, and you texted this morning. You're absolutely right. They did the Celtics a favor. They beat the Knicks last night. Guess what? They're 3rd in the draft now. If they fall below 4, that pick goes to the Clippers. They are not going to keep that up, beating teams like the Knicks. No. I think this is a joke. It's an affront to the fan who buys tickets expecting to see players. LeBron just is not going to make an all-league team because he fell below 65. But this is, I don't know. You guys want to comment? This is ridiculous.
Go ahead, Paul.
A couple of things. This is not a new problem.
No.
NBA teams have been tanking, trying not to win, putting in less than stellar effort, breaking up teams for a while now. The NBA has tried different things with the lottery and the play-in and so forth and so on. But, part of the problem is that salaries have gotten so high. I think there's just unbelievable pressure to land that great young player who you don't have to pay so much and try to get 3 or 4 years out of him before he breaks the bank. I don't know that I have a solution to it. I would say for me as a fan, so I just got an email from the Celtics. I have a half season plan that I share with one of our buddies, and they're saying, "Oh, you're going to re-up for next year," and I'm in the process of writing an email about all the reasons why I might not re-up. Denver comes to town and Jokic doesn't play. This has been happening repeatedly.
The Lakers came to town and what's his name? James didn't decide not to play.
Yeah,
And Doncic didn't play either.
and Doncic didn't play when Dallas came. So, it's like you're all excited because you see Dallas on the schedule, and now you're thinking, well, maybe they're not even going to play. So, it's a problem for the league. I don't know that there's an easy solution. Maybe there are too many games, regular season games. Maybe they can't have back-to-backs anymore. Maybe you outlaw that. Lengthen the regular season short. I don't know what the solution is, but it doesn't seem to be a problem for the networks because they keep shelling out the millions and billions of dollars to get the rights. And as long as that happens, the NBA is not going to give two poops about it.
Jim, first thing I think they need to do is go back to just worst record gets the first pick.
Yeah.
Just go back to a regular draft. Then you get rid of all the top 8 protected. The tops, that stuff will probably all go away. Just, you know what? And maybe do what the NFL does. Figure it out after the playoffs are over and do it that way, maybe.
I just wonder if you could run a model, and this is a crazy idea, but it's our show, so I'll say it. What if you didn't have draft weighted by how good a team was?
Well, someone proposed just alternate the number 1 pick every 30 years.
No, just say, this year we're going to pull the name out. Oh, the Celtics got the first pick. Bully for them.
Yeah.
And then you'd get rid of all this stuff.
Yeah. One proposal was to just rotate it.
Yeah. No problem with that.
My proposal would be this. I think that the lottery, it was implemented because 2 or 3 teams were tanking to get, they used to flip a coin between the East and the West.
2 worst teams.
Yeah, that's how Lou Alcindor, later Jabbar, ended up in Milwaukee, and Phoenix famously got New York. That was designed to not have 2 or 3 teams tank. It is now
Half the league.
that half the league is going to tank now to get in that lottery, especially after Dallas won and got Cooper Flag when they just got in the lottery. Right. They almost weren't in the lottery. They could have made the play-in.
Right.
And they got Cooper Flag. Everybody wants that chance now, as opposed to, we go in the play-in, maybe we win a game or 2, and then we play Detroit or OKC and we get blown out. So you got to go back to something like that to me. But I just think, unfortunately, I have to agree with Paul that as long as the NBA is making money,
they're not going to. Jim, I'm sorry. The other thing you said was the game the Jazz sit out in the fourth quarter, Markkanen and Jackson, but still win the game.
Yep.
And the game before they do it and they lose like they want, whatever. They don't play Jackson, they lose.
Right.
First of all, the NBA should say that's a $1 million fine. Like, you got those two. If those 2 guys, if you can't prove to me those 2 guys were hurt in the fourth quarter, then that needs to be a huge fine. That they should not be able to get away with that.
Yeah. And, a Call It a Mad Dog show brought up too. You look at what else is happening. Kansas has the projected number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
This caller made a good point. This guy's missed 11 games. He warmed up the other night in Fog Allen Fieldhouse against number 1 Arizona and said after he couldn't play, he was ill. Now, I'm not saying he could have played. I don't know. But I think that, as another caller pointed out, the other thing you got to do is you got to let these 18-year-olds get in the league. I mean,
Mhm.
this is ridiculous. This guy was saying that his agent sits behind the bench. So, Adam Silva, Russo was great. He's like, he's trying to form a European league that no one cares about. No one,
Mhm.
no one. I mean,
Mhm.
I like Adam Silva. I think he's a good commissioner, but I really think he needs to address this because the
Yeah.
65 games thing hasn't worked.
Nope.
That hasn't worked.
Nope.
So I just find it, as a huge basketball fan, as a huge NBA fan, to be just ridiculous. But anyway, is there any other topics you want before we get to the end of this? We really wanted to concentrate on this. Ken, any last words?
I didn't like the trade.
Paul, any last words?
Patriots had a great year. I know many of them watch this program. I want to congratulate them.
Yeah, I would say second that. And my last
Congratulations,
word would
guys.
be, just to remind, I made a prediction that the NHL, all the stars except for Russia, are playing in the Olympics, and I think it's going to be a great tournament. And I think NBA players are bowing out of the NBA All-Star Game. So,
Yeah,
and I would like, as Paul used to say, shameless self-promotion. Next week, we will give our 2025 Boston Sports Nuts Awards. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. For Paul Izzo and Ken Berman, I'm Jim Russo. See you next time.
Thank you for watching Boston Sports Nuts. You can find all of our episodes available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. For more information, go to westwoodmediacenter.tv or follow Boston Sports Nuts on Facebook, Instagram, and X.